Hi everybody, and welcome back to Accounting 482. This is session 15. Now we just did the production budget, which allows us to do the direct materials budget because we need to know how many materials we need to have in order to build our projected units. And so if you'll click over to the direct materials budget, we can get started by putting in what we need. So the very first title here, we're going to bold this title because this is a very long budget. It's not hard because we've used these concepts before, but it's very long. So we want to bold this very first item because it's all going to center around required production. Okay. And we're just going to bold that title, unclick bold, or else everything will be bold. And we don't need that. And we want normal bikes. And then I just hit enter there, or you can use your arrow keys. Use your arrow keys, or you can use your mouse to bump that down. Like I said, typically in Excel, there's about 3 different ways to do everything. Now the Mac users are going to be a little different. I probably should have said that right off the bat, but I have an iPhone and I have an iPad, but I've never used an Apple computer. So I know that it's a little different and you'll have to make adjustments on that. Like I said, I can't teach you something that I've never done. So hopefully it's not as different as I've heard. So we've got our specialty bikes and we have our normal bikes. And this is the required production. So for Q1, we're just going to link that from our production budget because we just figured that out. We need, in quarter 1, we need 4,300 normal bikes made. And then we're going to just, see that? You can just move it over when you don't want to. Just make sure you grab that little corner at the bottom there, and we should be able to just bring those over. Yep. I'm just going to delete that 0. And now the specialty bikes, we're just going to go in and link those on the required. Oh, I did not change that, did I? We're going to have to figure out how to change that. Oh, I know what I'm doing. I am in this budget doing that. So I want to delete that. It will not let me change that until I there we go. Yep, everything else is fine. Okay. So now we want to link this to the specialty bikes that we need to produce. And then we can drag that and fill everything in. So once you get comfortable with Excel, it's a user-friendly program, but it takes time, and I get better every time I do this budget. I just pick up more things. I'm more comfortable with it, but there's still things where it just stumps me, and I've done it once or twice, and I just can't remember how to do it right. That's very frustrating, but because I don't use it every day on my job, I kind of lose that a little bit. But people who use it every day are very proficient. So, and that's what you'll be doing. Most managers are very proficient at it. Okay, so the next thing we want to bold this title as well is the raw materials needed. And we want to find out how many raw materials we need to make all of these bikes for each quarter so that we can order the proper amount of raw materials and keep them on hand so that production does not stop, or we don't have, 3 million frames and no tires. Because that is not fun when you have way too much of one thing and not enough of another, because you cannot complete your projects or your products that way. So we need to go to the raw materials needed, and we need to figure that out. So we need to go right back to the basic information page where we will be putting in this information. And where do you find that information? We're going to find it on our document. Okay. Where is my Word document? Right there. Okay, so if we scroll up or scroll down to page 2, we have some information for production here. And the company was not able to start any production for the specialty line during year 1. However, raw materials were ordered for the line so that everything would be ready to begin production in January of year 2. So that's on the last year's budget. We don't have that information. For most of the purchases, 75% the company pays the suppliers within the quarter of the purchase, and then the remainder is in the following quarter. And then those are the figures that we'll need. So essentially, when we're done with our direct materials budget, we will create a payment schedule, just like we did the collection schedule on the sales budget. So the company, but that'll be at the end. So we'll save that. We know that where that information is, but we'll save it. The company buys raw materials from several different suppliers. While the cost costs a little more time and effort, it allows the purchasing department to search for the best deal on materials. So now we have economies of scale, and you've probably heard this term once or twice in your college career. So what they do is, if you can purchase a lot of parts, the company selling you the parts will offer you a special deal. If you buy one part, you're going to pay a price, and if you buy 10 parts, you're going to pay maybe a little less. And when you get up into the thousands of parts, you're going to get a better deal, because they like those big orders. They want to sell their stuff to you. And so they give you a better deal if you buy more parts. Also, if you're buying these large quantities of parts, you can make sure that your quality is what you want it to be, instead of because you're going to buy the whole lot, or work with just one company. And that way you can really create these good relationships and make sure that you get a good price and get a good quality product, because it doesn't do you any good to buy the cheapest part out there if it's going to break when your customer uses the product. That's not going to help you. It's really, you want to have quality goods at the best price. So that's economy of scale. And so during year 1, prices fluctuated constantly as the purchase department searched for the best deals. However, the prices have stabilized, so we don't have to worry about that. When you're doing your budgets in real life, if you have a product, oil is a huge one that just goes up and down and up and down, and you have to budget for that. You have to budget for any swings, and you may have to go and put in a different price for your oil products, because oil is in a lot of products. Oil is in plastics, oil is in carpet, oil is in rubber. The oil is just one of those things that's in a lot of products. So anything that you would use, if the price of oil goes up really high, anything that has oil in it is going to increase. So that's why we can link this budget and put these assumptions in. So if a price goes up and will affect our budget, we can go in and type that price in a little higher to reflect the price we're paying, and that will give us our new numbers based on that higher price. So Excel is wonderful with that. Okay, so here is our table with our normal bikes, specialty bikes, and the cost per unit. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a list on our basic information page that will put all of our information for our direct materials in one place, so that when we're building our direct materials budget, we have it all listed right here. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to type right down there, normal bikes. Normal bikes. And let's get some columns going. We definitely need some columns. We need units needed. And then the next column here, let's move that over. Get like if you put this right here below information, go ahead and get your arrow. It's a cross with 4 arrows, and then just move it over. That'll give us a little more room. And then the very next, and we're going, and also, let's go back. We're going to do a wrap text there, and we're going to center it. And then we're going to do a format painter for the next 3 cells. And then we're going to do a cost per unit. No, there we go. It worked. I've got this big, really big, like 150%, so that you can see it. And sometimes it messes with the formatting. Okay. Cost per bike. And then beginning inventory. 1 and 2 ends. 2 ends. Okay. And we'll put an underline under there just so that we can keep it organized. Okay. Everybody caught up? I'll give it a second. Now this is where it gets kind of fun, because once you type this once, it's all in there. And then you can use it going forward. Okay, so our first item is framing. Oh, I guess it needs a G. I wish it would tell you that it's an incorrect spelling. Actually, Excel does have a spell check on there. It's kind of cumbersome to use, but they do have a spell check. And so it'll let you type, make typos all day. Kind of bothers me because you don't see them when you're working on it, and then you go back and go, oh, that's a typo. Okay, so then we have rubber handles. Okay, and again, I'm just hitting enter. And then the next item on our sheet, and we should be looking at our sheet when we're doing this, because this is, when you're working at home, this is the information that you'll be using. So I'm taking it off of my budget that I've already got, so I don't miss anything, because I would. And but you should be using your document, because that's like that's your information. That's when managers give you information and you're putting these together, you have to go by what they have, but what information they gave you. And you might even have to ask questions. Did you have anything else? What about this? So you have to have good relationships with all the other managers, because you need something from them, and they need to provide you with what you need, so that it's all a relationship building. I know this is a quantitative class, but those relationships with other managers is really important. Okay, we've got seat. And then we need a chain, is also for the normal bikes. Tires, whoops. Tires, whoops. Tires. The gear shift. And then once you make a mistake, it just gets worse, right? The brake unit. And then the paint. Okay, so let's look at the normal bikes for the framing, and the units needed is 1.5. Whoops, we need to do the 0.5. 1.5. And the rubber handles, we need 2. Oh no, the framing is, I'm just off here. See that? Got to be in the right spot. Framing, 1.5. Rubber handles, 2. I thought 2 frames? That's going to be one odd bike, right? Okay, the seat, 1 seat. We're not making tandem bikes, that's good. Chain, 1 chain. Tires, 2 tires. The gear shift is 1. And the brake unit is 1. And the paint is 1. Okay, so the cost per bike, this is where you're going to put in the unit cost, and that's in the last column on your document. So you can either type the dollar sign, or again, I typed it and now I'm going to put the format painter and put it down all the way so we get that. Or you can use the tab up here that'll give you your dollars, your numbers. So, I mean, there's lots of different ways. I am in the habit of typing my dollar sign because I type the problems and the solutions, and then I have to use everything on my computer. So I'm in the habit of doing that. But if you get in the habit of using this format, the cell formatter with the numbers, then it's easy too. So whatever works for you. And the rubber handles are $2. And moving on down to the seat is $4. And the chain is $14. And the tires are $6. Nope, tires are $10. What am I doing here? I am off. What did I miss? I didn't. 15, 2, 4. Oh, right there. The chain is $6. The tires are $10. There's not even a 14 on here, so I don't know where I got that. And the gear shift is $8. Maybe I'll just look at my document. It's a little easier. And the brake unit is $6. And the paint is $10. Okay. Now we want to do a cost per bike. So this will be a formula. We want to multiply the units needed by the cost per unit, and we're going to get cost per bike. Now here we can just run that formula down, and we do want to keep the 50 cents here, because when you're looking at dollars, you want it to be in dollars. You want to include the cents for this one. And the beginning inventory, we're going to do that in a minute, but let's go ahead and do the specialty bikes. Okay. Okay. And so they also need framing. And they also, well, they need specialty handles. And they have a specialty seat. And they do have a chain. They use the chain. And the tires. And the expanded gear shift. I'm going to make sure I... Oh, not a shirt, expanded gear shirt. No. Okay, so. And we want to see that. So we're going to take the line between B and C up here on top, and we want the plus symbol with the two arrows. And what that's going to do is it's going to increase that column width. And you just double click it, and it will bring that out. Except what did I do? I'm going to go back. I'm not going to double click it. I'm just going to move it. Oh, I know why it did that. It did that because I've got other stuff up here, so it was moving everything. And we didn't want to do that. We just wanted to move it a little bit, because it won't just take the column that we're working with. It takes the entire column. And we're down here on line 59. So it's moved, it wanted to move everything, and I've probably got some typing up above that's really long, but I just wanted to move it so I could see the gear shift. And then we want the brake unit on this one, and then the paint. So now we want to take a look at how much the specialty bikes use. So we need 3.5 units of framing. And the specialty handles, we need 2. And the specialty seat, we need 1. The chain, we need 1. Tires, we need 2. Expanded gear shift, we need 1. Brake unit, we need 1. And paint is 1.5. Whoops, 1.5. So now we want to do the unit cost like we did before. And I'm going to take my format painter and I'm going to run it all the way down, so that I don't have to type the dollar, it'll just already be there. So $15 for the framing. Specialty handles are $2. No, specialty handles are $5. And specialty seats are $14. That's where I got the 14. The chain is $6. The tires are $10. The expanded gear shift is $25. The brake unit is $6 and the paint is $10. And now we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to multiply the units we need by the price to get our cost per bike. And we're going to run that down. This went too far. And it's also going to give us our cents here. If yours doesn't, you can just use these arrows. So right here I can take them away and then I can put them back using the decimal increase and decrease right there. So now we need to figure out the beginning inventory, because that's what we're going to need. So what we need to do is we need to take what we need multiplied by the unit cost, okay? And you need to make that a permanent reference. So we won't, we're gonna go back and delete all those. We'll come back to the unit price, okay? I looked at this and now I have to explain it so that you know what I'm doing. And so we need to use this 10%. We're going to have 10% of the cost, or 10% of the units total multiplied by the amount of framing that we're going to use. Does that make sense? So we need to go to the production budget. So it's the units we need multiplied by the production budget, which is right here. And we're going to make that a permanent reference, because every raw material needs to be for this period, right? We need 10% of this number. So everyone has to go to that number, to the 4,300. And then we're going to go to the 10%, and that is, no. I didn't make it multiplied. I just changed it instead of, so I've got D43, 1.5 units, multiplied by the 4,300 permanent reference, multiplied by the 10%. And that is also a permanent reference. because they will all be 10%. And we're going to get 645. I'm going to leave that up there again, and we'll go over it again. So our beginning inventory is the how many units we need multiplied by how many we're going to produce, 4,300, multiplied by the 10% of the raw materials purchasing goal. We're only producing we're only buying at the beginning of the period 10% of what we need to keep us going. And then we're going to purchase our materials throughout the quarter. Okay? Now, since we made those permanent references for the the production budget going back to the 4,300 and the basic information page, which is the 10%, those are permanent references. We should be able to run this formula down, and it'll grab, for the rubber handles, it's going to grab the 2 multiplied by the 4,300 multiplied by the 10%. Should. And yes, we did that right. And now we need to do the same thing on the framing. So again, this will be, the formula will be equal to the framing amount multiplied by the production budget, which Q1 for the specialty bikes is right here, permanent reference, multiplied by the 10% permanent reference. And I will leave that up for you. So we're taking the 3.5 units of framing, multiplying them by the production budget, what we're going to produce in specialty bikes in Q1, and then we're going to multiply it by 10% because that's what we need to have on hand. It's 10% of the direct materials for that period, what we're going to produce in that period. Okay, now we can just copy that down, and we have, if everything worked out right, yes, we have all the correct numbers here. Okay, so now these are assumptions. We can put in our assumption numbers here and here because these are permanent numbers that we are going to use. We are not going to make the prices permanent because the prices can change. The price per bike can change. If we change this here, that will change. This technically should not be we should just type numbers in here, and it shouldn't be formulas, but since this is the beginning of our budget, these shouldn't change. It should be pretty much set in stone that these are here. So watch my time so I don't go too long. Whoops, that'd be bad. Okay, so now we can go back to our direct materials budget, and we can go and start doing our raw materials needed. Now here, for the normal bikes, this is the normal bikes. Normal. We don't need to type bikes. So right here, and this is where it gets fun, you can just click equals, because we're going to go up and link this to the basic information page. Just link it. Framing. Then we're going to take that and we're going to go down one too many, always one too many. And if you do that, just hit delete and it goes away. We're just going to link all of those titles, because if you have this framing, and say this framing has a number, a certain part number, and you want to add that, if you change that on the basic information page, that will completely flow through your budget. So we're just going to put in the titles, and it's fantastic that we get to do that, right? And now we want to know how much framing we're going to use. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that 1.5 amount of framing for each bike, and we're going to multiply it by how many bikes we're going to make. Okay, so we're going to do equals, and we're going to come up here and we're going to make that a permanent reference. But we're going to do okay, not a permanent reference. We're just going to do a permanent column. So permanent row column. The first quarter we want this number, and then when we jump over here, when we carry out the formula, we want column 2 to jump here. So we want to stay in row 6, but we want it to pick up the next column, but always row 6. And that's what this means. And I just hit my F4 twice to get that. And we're going to multiply it by the basic information, and we're going to use this 1.5, and we're going to keep the row. We want it to pick up the row, but we don't want it to go down the column. I'm sorry, always confused. Okay, so we want the row, not the column. We want to stay in this column, but not that row. Does that make sense? Okay. Of course I said that wrong. I know I did. So now you want the column permanent, not the row. So let's go back, and for this formula we want to keep this row. So the 6, row 6 is a permanent reference. The column is not. For this cell here, we want the column permanent but not the row. And depending on where you put the $sign, and my $sign disappeared here. So we're going to do that. And that should give us our number. Oh, it did. It did. So now we want to format that number into a number, and we don't want any decimals, but we want to use the 1,000 comma separator, and now we have our formatting. And now we want to use the format painter because this is going to be huge, and we can do the entire, we'll just go say to there. We might have to go farther. So now here, this gets fun. You want to drag your formula. Nope, got to go down first. Go down first to paint, and then over. I do not know why I always have trouble with that. I always do. Okay, go down, and now I guess it won't let you do it all at once. Okay. And we're just going to delete those. So now we have, do you want me to do that again? I can do that again. Let's go back. Okay. So we have 1.5, the framing 1.5 multiplied by the 4,300. And we made the 1.5 a column reference, permanent reference, and we made the 4,300 a permanent row reference. And now we're just going to copy that formula down for all of the raw materials, and then we're just going to copy it over. And we're going to take out these zeros. Now we're going to do the same thing with the specialty bikes. So we'll get another shot there. And again, we're just going to link the titles. That's fantastic. We're just going to link that title, and then it will just take us down. Always one too many, always. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing on this one. We're going to take the specialty required production, and we're going to make that a permanent row reference, row 7, permanent reference, and we're going to multiply that by the 3.5, and we're going to make that a permanent column reference. And that's going to give us not our number. What did I do wrong? 3.5. See? Oh, why is this wrong? Why is that wrong? See? Got an issue. Oh, that number's wrong. That should be 0. That changes everything. Now we're good. That 0. If you had a minus 15 there, you need to make it a 0. But I've got these linked, so that'll put my number in the right spot. Okay, so all these are linked. Double check those numbers. I just had a negative 15 here, and I didn't see it. I made that a 0 like it needs to be, because we didn't have any to start with. Okay. So now again, we're going to go straight down and pull in all these numbers. I'm going to go check and make sure that I am right on track. And I am. And then I'm going to just put that over. Everything looks good. Everything looks good. I double checked. And now we have our raw materials needed. Now notice that I'm not looking at every little number. I'm not calculating every little number. I'm letting Excel do that for me. So I'm going to wait right here, and I'm going to let you catch up. Okay, now we're going to do a total. That's pretty intuitive. Totals. And here, this can really kind of mess you up. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this framing. We'll do the normal materials and then add in the specialty items. Does that make sense? We're going to just put that down there. Oh, I got it right. Okay. And now we're going to link the specialty items, which would be the specialty handles and the specialty seat and the expanded gear shift. So you should have all of these all of the items in the normal bikes and in the specialty bikes, and then these 3 additional from the specialty bikes. And now we want to add all of the raw materials from normal and specialty together. So we want to do the framing from the normal bikes, and we want to add them to the framing of the specialty bikes to get our total. Okay. Now we can do that up until the paint. No, we can't because the specialty handles are in here. We're going to have to do these individually. So the rubber handles, we're just going to have to just drop that down, rubber handles, okay? And the seat, we're going to just have to go up and do the seat. Now the chain we can add, so we've got the chain in the normal bikes and in the specialty bikes. And the tires, same thing. And you can't really run them down either because they're in different spots. I want to make sure I got my chain number right. And my tires are wrong. Oh, I know why my tires are wrong, because I grabbed the wrong number. Tires plus tires. There we go. I know you guys are going, you did it wrong, and I heard you. Okay, gear shift is just the gear shift up in the normal bikes. The brake unit is in both bikes. So brake unit here and brake unit here. Okay. Yep. Paint is in both bikes. Right here and right here. Specialty handles is only going to be in the specialty bikes. Specialty handles, specialty seats are only going to be in the specialty bikes. And the expanded gear shift is going to be only in the specialty bikes. Okay. So now we want to do that for every quarter. So we can go like that. Is that going to give me the right numbers? Oh, it does. And then we can just bring it down. And of course that did not work. Okay, bring it back. Oh, no. Oh, I know what I did wrong. I'm just going to back that out. Okay, so that's right. No, that's not right. Oh, no. We want to delete all of those. Oh. Okay, so just take each row one at a time. And it's going to work out for you just fine. Okay. Okay. Now that we have those, we have our totals. I'm going to save that. And now our next title, I'm going to finish one more before I cut this video. Okay. Ending inventory. So now we want to do the framing again, because now we're going to go to the totals. We're just going to do the totals. Oh, keep going, two more. Okay. And now our ending inventory, let's go back to our basic information page. Our ending inventory is going to be 10% of the subsequent, the next quarter's budget. So this will be equals to, this is going to be 10% of this number here, right? So we're going to go to that cell, the framing for quarter two, and then we're going to go to the basic information page, do the 10%. We're going to make this a permanent link so it stays there. And then we want the partial units in there, but we don't want it to show up here. So we're going to not add more. We're going to delete those, and it will round for us. It's there, but it won't be shown, so that we have it on the screen. And then we can go right down the line there. And this here, let's see if that's going to work. Oh, it did. And then we can go right down. Yes, it did. Yay. Okay. And then the next one, we can even go one more, because it's going to come off of 10% of, whoops, it does not like when it does that. Okay. And now this one here, we're going to have to take 10% of the first quarter in year 3. So we want to say equals to that number multiplied by, that number is the production requirements for the first quarter in year 3, multiplied by the 10%, make that a permanent reference. And again, we're going to take away the 0. Oh my goodness, that was so loud. Did you hear it? Or is it just coming back? My goodness. That'll wake you up, won't it? And now the total at the end of the year, the year 2 totals, is just going to be that number there, because the end of the year is going to be the end of the 4th quarter, and you can just, whoops, not move that like that. Just run that down. Okay. And we're going to put a line here because we're going to do some addition. Okay. And now we're going to have our total needs right here. And we're going to bold that, total needs. And again, see, this is the beauty of this. You can just link that and run it down. And I kept going way too long. Extras that we don't need. Okay, so now for the total needs, we're going to be taking our total here, the total that we're going to need for production, plus our desired ending inventory, so that we can make sure that we have enough on hand. So we're going to take that and we're going to do the framing plus the total plus the desired ending inventory, and that's going to give us that number. But we want to make this a permanent reference so that that stays in that line. And then we're going to bring that down. And of course it didn't work. Why didn't you work? Oh, no permanent reference. Silly me. Okay, delete the permanent reference. Just have the regular cell. And then delete that. Watch this. Oh. And then that gave me the right number. Nice, huh? So now and all the way across. And that worked. So no permanent reference here. If you followed my lead and you made that mistake, and I made that mistake, I apologize. Okay, so there we go. This is where we're at. And I'm going to cut this video now so that we can finish this up in the next video. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.